Oi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to Football Talks. I am joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hey, hey, oh my.
All right, we are done with the wild card round. We're on to the divisional playoff round, and these matchups, apart from one, look all juicy because we got rid of the garbage. I mean, we couldn't take them all out because Houston's still in, but somebody had to get through. And at least Houston proved to be the better one of the bunch by a little bit. But anyway, let's get started. I wanted to talk about the games, but I wanted to do this before I forget, because we're gonna go back to the Giants Packers game a little bit later on towards the end. But I just want to call out everyone's favorite commentator on Fox Sports One, Undisputed. Don't watch it. Skip Bayless. Now, as any good and smart Cowboys fan will know, if they're smart, no one's just bandwagoning on him. And like, oh, you're so smart, you know the Cowboys are the great team. Oh yeah, it's called bandwagoning, like the rest of you Cowboys fans have been doing. And anyway, I'm gonna read some tweets out to you guys. Okay, let's start from the bottom. I retweeted these like on Sunday, so you guys won't find them on Twitter unless you dig a little, but I'll read it. For the record, I am not a Cowboy fan. Picked against them on the air last 5 years. Just like the makeup and the unity of this team. Okay, that was from November 19th, 2009. Now then, let's look at a tweet from yesterday. I am live with my preview at Giants at Packers and how it affects my Cowboys' chances. Click here to watch. Now let's look at a tweet from 4 days ago. He basically captions over a tweet, which is a quote of him saying, "I'm convinced my Cowboys could beat the Giants. That the third time that would be the charm. RT, if you agree with Skip." Now just remember that tweet from 2009. For the record, I am not a Cowboy fan. Okay. Now let's look at what he said to that tweet. I want the Giants to win this weekend so my Cowboys can get a third shot at them. More Undisputed, now in FS1. For the record, I am not a Cowboys fan. Pick against them on the air the last 5 years. What do we call this, Bill? Bandwagonist. You're on the train because they look like the most offensive, flashy team. It's like with people with the Golden State Warriors, like, oh my god, this offense is so fun. They're just beating everybody but 550. But then you're like, oh, the Spurs are so boring. All they do is pass the ball around. It's boring. I want to see 150 points a game. That's right, sign Kevin Durant. I want this team to be historically good. And yeah, what happened when the Spurs played them? They kicked their asses at their own place, 129-100. Never forget that score. But basically, everyone's just going on the Cowboys because they're like, oh, they're so flashy. But some team who can actually shut them down and is just, quietly churning along because everyone's on the Cowboys is fucking dicks. And if you like the Cowboys, if you've been a Cowboys fan for a while and you've stuck through the worst of the worst like last year, go ahead. You have every right to be happy. You have every right to be happy. Good for you. But if you're someone like Skip Bayless, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see you. I know I shouldn't tell people how to be a fan. I'm not in any position, but for God's sakes, if you say that you hated the Cowboys, if you say you hate this thing, stick with it. But if you are going to change your thoughts on a team, at least say along the way, it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't like them at first, but now I'm starting to turn over to them. As long as you say something like that, you're completely clear. But just don't be Skip. Don't be a Skip Bayless. That's my
Public service announcement.
thank you. That's my PSA of the day. That was me good deed for the day. Now then, let's move on to the actual games. Enough Skip Bayless. He's getting way more attention than he deserves. But just don't be Skip. Anyway, let's move on. Let's start in the clink. Because, boy, Bill, this game looked fun if you were a Seahawks fan because everything went your way. All right, Bill, do you want to start with this? Tell me the first thing that stuck to you in this 26-6 landslide.
I wouldn't call it a landslide, but, I'll put it this way. Really, the game was close in the first half. Up to a point, and I felt like there was a momentum shift, and you were there for it. You listened to when I identified the moment that the momentum turned. And it was this exact moment. The Lions were driving down the field on the Seahawks. But they ran into a fourth down. And they were running the ball decently effective, in the first half with Zach Zenner. They were doing pretty good stuff on that defense. They were moving the ball pretty effectively on them, right? So they're on Seattle's side of the field. So there's either two ideas on a 4th and 2 situation. You punt the football and pin them way deep in their own territory. You can try a long field goal, or you go for it on 4th and 2. They opted for the latter. Now, in that sort of situation, what do you think a normal team should do in a 4th and short situation? And I'll give you guys a hint. It should be, if you're less than 4th and 2, you either run the football or set up a quick little screen pass or something to get the yard or two that you need to continue the drive, maybe get yourself 10, 15 more yards for a field goal or something. No, what do? We roll Matthew Stafford out of the pocket and throw it back on a tight end screen, which all the players were going towards that side of the field anyway, and got immediately tackled at the line of scrimmage, and we lost the football. And I identified that as the turning point. And what happened after that? The Seahawks marched the football down the field, scored the football for a touchdown, and momentum and the crowd got into the game. And ever since that point in that game, the Lions were doomed to fail. They should have punted the football. And you know this as well as anyone, because I was like, why did we throw this? Why did we do this? Why aren't you running the football? Why didn't you punt it? But no, as I correctly pointed out when we were watching the game, I was like, why didn't you just punt the football? This is a turning point in the game. And it was. And that's, after they scored that first touchdown, is the exact point that I turned off the game and I knew what was going to happen.
Oh yeah. So Bill, I want to rant about one thing from this game, because I know this is more so your moment to talk. This is going to be the last time we're talking about the Lions, and honestly, I say good riddance. But oh boy, hey Bill, I know this is a little off topic, but I can't believe it. But the Spurs are only one loss away from tying the Warriors, because the Warriors lost. They're 32-6 to the Spurs 30-7.
Right.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about the refs of this game.
Oh, the refs. Oh my.
Okay,
God.
normally you could just skip this and say, oh, you're just talking about it because it's the Lions. The Lions, yeah, they do get fucked over by the refs, but I kind of want to talk about, this is more the sake of Seattle. I don't know if anyone's noticed this. I'm going to cite some past examples over the past couple of years. I've got 2 examples from this season, counting this game as well. And actually 3, I should say. And then I have some from last year. We've had a lot of situations where the Seahawks have had favors going their way with the refs. I mean, the most obvious one that we all can remember is the Fail Mary. Remember, Bill? They had no business catching that ball. They didn't, but they said that they did. Green Bay actually took the ball, so it should have been the end, but they said, hey, it's a touchdown. Yeah.
By addendum, though, what we could say is that those were the replacement refs who were even worse.
Yeah, but guess what? You know what, Bill? Considering this is a bunch of other refs who aren't familiar with each other and don't have what's synergy? There we go. I remember you and I were looking for that word. Oh no, it wasn't you. It was my friend. It was my other friend Andrew.
Okay.
or they don't have synergy. But just remember that, because I'm going to go back to that too when I talk about the refs as a solution. But let's talk more about the problem. While you could say yes, that was the replacement refs year, I think that was the start of the trend. Because let's go look at this year's. The first game I can mention right off the top of my head is the Buffalo game. It was during halftime. Before halftime. Buffalo's going to try to kick a field goal to get it in. The problem, I don't know if it was Richard Sherman. Anyway, a Seahawks player completely downed the kicker. They knocked him on his ass. It should have been roughing the kicker, but it didn't get a call, so Buffalo had to run a play without him, because as you know, if some player comes out, they can't come back until one play passes. So basically, Tyrod Taylor and his group had to come out and just do a play, get the ball on the right hash mark for him, and then he had to kick it again, and I don't believe he made it. I don't think he made it because of that.
Right.
But they didn't call it, and the ref said, yeah, we should have called that. Okay, you think, okay, that's not too bad because they got taken out at the end of the year anyway. All right. So you want to say that game might not have mattered for the might not have mattered for Buffalo. All right, let's go to the other game. This one happened before that one, I believe.
Okay.
And that was the more infamous one. This is another instance, I think the biggest instance, not counting this game, of how it went in their favor. Of course, there was the Lions game, the other Lions game, but I'll get to that one as last. But this one, I think, matters a bit more than the Lions one, sadly, Bill.
Right.
The no pass interference call on Richard Sherman against Julio Jones. Typically, if somebody goes up to make a catch, if the wide receiver jumps up, is all up in the air, basically helpless. It is the cornerbacks cannot push him, pull him, or try to obscure his hands. That is a flag, because you have to let them try to catch it. You'll feel free to move your hands wherever else, or you could put it in the way of his hands, but you cannot grab them, push him, or pull him. And what did Richard Sherman do? He tried to pull him back down from the ground. And with the rule of holding, be it offensive or defensive, it's the easiest way for a ref to spot it is if the first sign, does he have his hand clenched? Does he have his hand clenched in a fist position? Second, do you see some jersey in the inside of that hand? If you do, you throw the flag, and pretty much 9 times out of 10 they get it right. I would almost say, every time virtually, it's about like a 95% chance they get it right.
Right.
So they didn't do that this time because it was on his back. If it was on his front, you damn right they would have thrown it, but it was on his back. They did not call that, and that cost the Falcons the game. Now, I'm not saying that the Falcons would have won that. They could have, they may not have. But at the very least, the Falcons should have had that call go in their favor because they would have been in Seattle territory. And they could have at least been near field goal position. And of course, there was the game last year where the Lions went over there and the whole instance of that fumble being pushed out of bounds intentionally by another Seahawks player should have been a flag. Should have kept Detroit in the game, but it didn't happen. Didn't get called, and that was it. And then, of course, you have this game where everyone's talking about Paul Richardson. Great catch, I would say, but if you look at that play, when he's actually grabbing the ball, where is his other hand? Pulling towards his right of the Detroit corner.
We were in the call.
Yep. I saw the screenshot, and I saw some Vine videos of it, and yes, that should have been a flag. Now, this is where I would think, I would love the idea of an actual, you know how they have refs on the field? I would love the idea if there's a ref seeing the cameras like we do, and if he does see it, they should throw a flag. Tell a ref whether they're near there or not. It's like, hey, throw a flag, I spotted a foul.
I mean, it's...
And that was just one instance, Bill. There was another. This time, it was on Seattle's side. One of Seattle's players was pulling back, T.J. Jones from making a catch. If that wasn't defensive holding, I don't know what is.
Right.
And here's the
Yeah.
best part. I'm not calling some conspiracy thing, this is just the fucking joke, but I love how Roger Goodell is there, and they're just letting all these plays go. Because Seattle is the newest moneymaker for Goodell. It's like Emperor Palpatine overseeing the plans of the Death Star. You damn right his little subordinates are going to do what he wants. Because you don't want to piss off the Emperor Palpatine. He's going to force choke you, or worse, he's going to force lightning you to a crisp until you're nothing but ash.
And I'll just add on to that. And here's the other issue: is the head referee of the Crew was the same head referee that called the Tennessee game. And he is a literal piece of garbage referee. He is literally the worst referee we could have got. And we got the same bad referee in 3 games this year. Now, 2 times during the regular season did we have this piece of garbage, and then a 3rd time, and that was in the playoffs. You know, really what needs to happen during the regular season, there needs to be a rotation of referees that you don't see the same referee twice per year. You know, and then in the playoffs, they need to make sure that we get rid of all the worst referees, and he is by far one of the worst referees. He makes it about himself. He wants the FaceTime on national TV to call these penalties. You know, personal foul, Detroit Lions. He loves being on that television. And that's why he's on there throwing the flag constantly. He's just the Joey Crawford of the NFL. And Joey Crawford is a very notorious NBA referee. He's the Joey Crawford of the NFL, and he needs to be released or let go.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because remember, the reason why these refs are so complicated is because what you would think that the NFL would do is they get the best groups and just bring them all in there. No, they get the individuals from the best groups. So, like, if all of them met that quota, great, that whole team's going. But if, say, one of them didn't meet that guide to make it in the playoffs, he's gone, and some other person from another group gets put in instead. Or hell, they might still get mixed up anyway if they all make it. The problem with me is they're just basing it off of individual when they should be basing it as a group. How did this group do in terms of calling and no calls? So basically, if one player brings you down and you don't make it, or one ref, doesn't brings you down and you don't make it, so be it. But if one whole group makes that quota filled, they should all go together because they have that synergy. They know how to work together. They know what to do and not to do, compared to other people who haven't worked together long enough to know what they do and how they do it.
Right.
But I don't know if that'll ever work. I don't know if that will work, but you'd have to hope that they do, but yeah. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway, I'll be fair, because I'm going to give shit to the Lions as well, and I think you might agree with this. The receivers did not help Stafford at all. There were so many drops. Like, when we talk about Houston, we have to be fair with the Raiders, because Connor Cook could not catch a break either, because even when he could get throws in, Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree were dropping passes. So it's like, yes, even if a quarterback's playing bad, if he's getting the throws where they need to be, and the receiver's not catching it, that falls on the receiver.
I'm prepared to say, after this Detroit game, and I'm prepared to say that Eric Ebron is the biggest draft bust besides Joey Harrington in the last 20 years. He is that bad. Eric Ebron drops everything. So we need to drop him off the team. I don't care how good they say his hands are. He is a giant bust at tight end. We need a tight end that can catch the football in key moments. every third down from Matthew Stafford over the entire season, and the playoff game cemented it for me. He dropped so many key third down conversions that it is not fair to to his rest of his teammates. It's not fair to the offense. It's not fair to the coaches who put him in positions to succeed, and he continues to fail. He should not be on the field at all for the Lions ever again. I'm sick and tired of seeing him try to catch a football and it's right in his hands and then he just flat drops it. He's not a good tight end. He needs to go.
Well, Bill, I still have to go and mention Tate dropped some passes and Jones did. The wide receivers did not give Stafford a break. So while I did give shit to the refs, I have to be honest. The the offense for for the Lions did not help Stafford one bit.
Oh no, they didn't. Stafford was the best player on that team besides Zach Center.
The defense did all that it could in the first half because Ziggy Ansah got 2 sacks in the first half.
Right.
That was great.
And
That the beginning was great for the Lions defense, but like all good defenses, unless the offense can do something to help them, they can't do it all by themselves. I mean, unless you're historically great like the '85 Bears or last year's Broncos, you cannot you can't keep blocking them all day. 'Cause sooner or later, they're going to figure out what you're doing. They're going to figure out your moves because they've been on the field long enough to figure you out, and you're going to be tired.
exactly.
And
I agree.
that's why I would say normally the defense held them down, but no, I say what ultimately costed them this game, aside from the refs, was the receivers. What they need to do in the off season is all of them practice on catching passes. They need to practice on securing catches, no matter how rough it is. They just need to have better ball security. Because sooner or later, you could let one go up in the air and bam, picked off. Not even Stafford's fault.
Exactly. The one thing else I'm going to say for next year about the receiving group is, and this is the good thing, is that Golden Tate's going to be motivated to play really well next year because this is the final year of his deal coming up, and he's going to want to catch everything. So, he's on put in that extra work to make that cash, right? And Marvin Jones, decent receiver, but they're going with the New England approach to offense. I'm fine with it.
I think he'll get better next year. He'll be more familiar with the system, and then be coming off without an injury. So the fact he'll be going into the offseason healthy will be better for him.
Exactly.
But
so overall, the last thing and the very last thing like I was saying in the call when we were watching the game, I'm so tired of listening about Matt Stafford's finger. He played through a finger injury. It happened. It'll be healed up by the time next year. And we need to make sure our offensive line doesn't allow him to get hit.
So, with that in mind, the last thing I want to mention is that the Lions are now pick number 21 in the draft. They're going to be the first playoff team on the board. So,
lucky number 21.
So, Bill,
nice.
let's address concerns because we're going to talk about it later, but we'll see if our thoughts change later on. What are your 3 biggest needs in the draft?
3 biggest
because
needs?
One thing to note, Abdullah actually had a talk with some of the press yesterday, I think. Yeah, I want to say it was yesterday. Where he says he still believes he's the answer for the Detroit's running game woes. Do you agree with that? Or do you see that the running back becomes a need?
I would say corner is a definite need position. Offensive line is a definite need position. And then my third need position is we need some more help on the defensive line. And while I have concerns about the running game, the good thing is that we're gonna have a bunch of running backs healthy next year. Abdul will be back and healthy. Theo Riddick will be back and healthy. Zach Zenner will be back and healthy. And I'm confident that those three can get the job done.
Yeah. Well, as for me, I'm going to say the obvious need is going to be corner because you were very thin when Slay went out. So I would say first, there's going to be plenty of corners. I believe 9. I think it still stands with 9. I mean, this is assuming we haven't gone to the combine yet, but as things stand now, there are 9 first-round quality cornerbacks to take. I know a lot of teams might have needs for them, but I would want to believe surely at least maybe 3 or 4 will make it to past pick number 20.
Right.
So if one can just make it that fits the Lions' designs, surely one can make it. After that, I've got to go with safety. Because if it's not them, it's not. If it's not corner, it's safety. I think Glover Quinn's in a good spot. I think it's the other position that he's not in. I don't know if he's forward safety or strong safety. I mix those two a lot. So it's the other position. What?
I think he's strong.
Well, if he's strong, then it's a forward safety. If not, it's the other. We'll see.
We do have a good young player in Killebrew that I think is growing into a position.
Yep. And then the last one for me, this one's going to surprise you a bit, but I say linebacker. Because DeAndre Levy, I don't know if it's his contract year, but from when I saw, he did not look anything like the one we knew. I think he has one more year in his contract, but if things don't look good at all for him, at the very least he'll have somebody else who can replace him.
I won't lie. I really hope that they cut him.
I really want to get another linebacker, but I think you can do what, say, Houston did, get one in the second round, because Houston's linebacking core, everyone they've drafted, from Whitney Merciless to Clowney especially, to John Simon, and then Benardrick McKinney, the newest and youngest that isn't Clowney, have been all great.
Right.
So, I mean, but that's because I think Rick Smith is good, apart from, getting Osweiler. But
right.
I would like to think that there are some good... this seems to be another defensive-oriented draft, mostly secondary, but I would think there should be a few good linebackers out there that maybe they could snag in the second round, and then we'll see from there. Because I could agree linebacking or offensive line is a concern, but I think this one's stable enough. I think some need to grow, like the first round pick from this last draft.
Right.
I think he just needs to grow and settle more.
But the reason why I included offensive line, it's a very New England thing to pick offensive linemen. It's what they're known for doing. And they always pick offensive linemen, so I sort of expect an offensive lineman.
I just think some good corner will make it all the way to the bottom, so we'll see.
Definitely.
Anyway, so let's move on. Speaking of Houston, let's talk about the other game, the one on Saturday. All these games were lopsided. Everyone thought the Giants-Packers game was going to be the closest, and they were right for about 2 quarters. But this game was the least lopsided somehow, even though for the majority of the game it was. The Texans they just spanked the Raiders 27-14. For a while the Texans looked like they had their foot off the gas on offense, but it seems the defense just held up long enough. But again, this was a great win, but this was against a third-round rookie who had his third. He was the third on the depth chart at the beginning of the year. This was his first start. I wouldn't say this is too impressive for them. I mean, this was not a fun game on offense for the most part for the Texans. I mean, apart from that last drive in the first half, with that really good throw to Hopkins, 38 yards, then giving him his touchdown in the playoffs. Good thing for him, but what was fun for Houston was easily, by far, the defense, because Clowney pretty much had his big moment to wake up on prime time and impress the world. Because, Bill, I remember the beginning of the year, people were like, ah, Clowney's a bust. He's always getting hurt. He's not good at all. Khalil Mack is better. And speaking of, Khalil Mack was here, and some would argue he was playing better than Clowney. But,
I mean,
what?
to be fair, really throughout that entire game, it was the Clowney and Mac show. Really, that was the key battle going on all day because really, both offenses were pretty garbage.
Yeah. I know people are happy for Osweiler because he didn't make a mistake, which is good, but now you're going to New England, who's going to really want to take you down because this is the easiest matchup. Well, actually, no, the easiest matchup would have been Miami, but yeah. So back to Clowney, gets an interception. Could have gotten two actually. There was one where he tipped another throw, but it went too far away for him to catch. But if he could have caught that, it's literally a yard away from the end zone. Just needs to look in that direction and he's in. So
Right.
would have loved for that to happen, but hey. Good. It was good for him because here's the best thing. You had Clowney doing all that work while Whitney Merciless was being double covered. But then as soon as Clowney was doing great, then Whitney Merciless was being one-on-one, and he was just eating offensive linemen and taking down Connor Cook. Took him down twice for 2 sacks. You had this is how easy how easy the line had their way with Oakland. You had him get 2 sacks. You had Clowney get those 2 deflections, and one was intercepted. You had him get a few tackles for loss. You had him. I think he actually got to Connor Cook once. I don't know. And then you had other players like you had Houston's defensive rookie. I think is. KJ Reader, something Reader. You had him get a sack.
Like that.
It was beautiful, Bill. It was beautiful for the line to just thrive and have fun with this guy. They just gave him a lot of different looks. It was not It was not easy, but to be fair, all the Raiders fans who did go to Houston did not have much expectations, and they were right. Because it didn't matter if you won, because you would have to go to New England most likely, and yeah, that happened. You would be taken down. Oh well. I mean, I feel like this is one of the biggest tragedies in all of sports this year. That Derek Carr gets taken down on Christmas Eve when it looked like his shot to become an MVP. Because if he stayed for the last 2 games, I guarantee you it would have been Matt Ryan versus Derek Carr for the MVP race. No questions asked. People would say, "Oh, but what about Rodgers?" Oh yeah, like, oh, that's cute, but what about Derek Carr, who had his first 10 starts be losses?
Right. I mean, and here's the other thing, and I'll put it this way: Oakland ran into the CBA as well, and what I mean by that is the collective bargaining agreement bars players from too much practice time, and it showed. And that offensive line that didn't have any practice time got their quarterback hurt, and that's something that needs to be addressed in the next collective bargaining agreement in 2019, because I understand player safety on the on the part of the players union. The issue is that if you don't give your backups any practice time, you're going to get star players hurt. And the star players are getting hurt because the backup offensive linemen don't have any practice time. And look at, I mean, legitimately, you saw the seeds of that in this playoff game. There was a third string offensive lineman that was just continuously beat by, by Merciless, by Clowney. He stood no chance, and it's going to get people hurt.
I will say the cornerbacks looked a lot better for today. I still think they can be a big Achilles heel in terms of defense. because I still think Kareem Jackson and Jonathan Joseph are getting older. But AJ Boye is still in his contract year, and I think he's going to get paid. He's going to
Oh
definitely
yeah,
get paid.
definitely.
I don't know about no franchise tag. I think they're going to save that for DeAndre Hopkins. But
Most likely.
this guy is going to earn his keep because I think at some point they're going to cut either Jackson or Joseph and keep Boye because Boye has become a much better corner over the past year, and this guy. I mean, the only thing that I would pay him less for is the fact that he draws a lot of personal fouls and draws a lot of holdings and pass interference.
Oh
Thankfully,
yeah.
they did not get they did not luck out with like the refs like last week where Boye helped interception for Quinton Demps because he was holding a Titans player. But this time they all played good. There were 3 interceptions, one by Clowney, one by Corey Moore, an undrafted free agent actually, is becoming better at safety. So this is what I
Right.
feel like. They know who to get on defense. Rick Smith is really good at getting defensive players for the team, even if they're undrafted, because then they become starters. AJ Boye was not a high round pick. I don't even know if he was a free agent. I need to check, actually. I'm curious now. But then you
Oh
see
geez.
Corey Moore getting interception. He's getting more plays. He's playing because Quinton Demps, who is a 30-plus-year-old player and is getting interceptions. He was actually defensive AFC Defensive Player of the Month because he got interception each and every game for the last
Right.
month. So
Right.
it's really good. It's really good how they
Oh
get
yeah.
all these
Definitely.
players. And let me check. AJ Boye is, huh? Oh, he's an undrafted free agent, Bill. This guy's an undrafted free agent, and he's become a really good corner. See, Bill? This is what I like about. This is why I don't think they should fire Rick Smith or Bill O'Brien because Rick Smith is a great GM. That's if you let this guy go, guess who might go? Guess who he might go to? He might go to San Francisco, and it may take a while. But this guy is a qualified GM. I don't know about Hall of Fame. If you get him a ring or two, then yes.
I mean, you never know. I mean, there's a lot of different places that you could go, and a lot of different. You just when you have a guy at GM that knows what he's doing, that's almost a guarantee to stay there for
And
at least
remember,
10 plus
the
years.
philosophy for him is if you're a first or second round pick, you're going to start. There's nothing like the Vikings, which I give the Vikings shit for this. It's like, oh, we got Laquan Treadwell. What are we gonna do with him? Oh, let's just bench him for the whole year and never let him have any starts, and we'll assume he'll be a great player next year because he needs to get
Right.
familiar with our complex system. Rick Smith is
Well,
like, hey, you're starting. Get ready. You're gonna get all the starting reps because you're gonna play every single game, no matter what.
I mean, but in a backwards way though, not having Laquan Treadwell start actually allowed a player by the name of Adam Thielen to come in and prove himself, and now if you have Treadwell uh, play well next year, you have two really good starting wide receivers, and you have Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, but
You're in good shape.
my only problem is if you were already thin at that position, like say this is your absolute worst position. For example, let's say you had a shoddy offensive line
Right.
and you draft a guy and it's like we need this guy to start. No, we got to bench him the whole year. What does that lead you? Your team, your offensive line is literally going to be the only reason you miss the playoffs or even have a shot at it. And then you
Right.
go 4-12. I mean, I'm not saying he would have made a difference and made you go to the playoffs, but come on, as if you need help in that position, you need to start them. You at least
Right.
let Teddy Bridgewater start. What? Because he's a quarterback? I say no. If you need help in that position badly, you start that guy.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
that's just me. That's what I think. I think that
I,
I
I
I
agree.
I think it's good. And here's the thing. Sure, that argument would work, but with the Texans case, Boye just got the starting job because he kept getting better. And then sometimes injuries happen, and that's why Corey Moore is getting better and better at safety.
I think I think it really depends on the situation. Really, you're part of a member of a really great defense, and you if there's certain part of the defense that's not performing well, and you're already part of a great defense, you can be plugged into a great defense and learn on the fly better than if you're not part of a great offense, then you might have to sit down. I think part of the issue why they sat Treadwell down was because they had Sam Bradford and not Teddy Bridgewater. You know,
Now we know he might have a legit shot at stealing the job from Bridgewater.
I think that's crazy.
It is crazy,
Teddy
but Bill, you never know.
Bridgewater's 10 times better quarterback than Sam Bradford.
Yeah, but you never know because you see, Bill, as we now know with Osweiler, all it takes is 9 starts, and you're going to be paid like a fucking superstar. You're going to be paid more than players who actually deserve it, like J.J. Watt, or Tom Brady, or Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, look at what happened to the Minnesota offense at the end of the year.
Well, to be fair, the biggest problem for that, the culprit was the running back. The lack of a run game really helped them. They were historically bad.
Right. I mean, but getting back to Houston, being allowed to become part of a great defense and learning on the job is a lot easier.
Yeah, well, when you're already a talented defense and you have good players, you can rest them so you can let these other guys do their job and get better.
Exactly. That's the other thing too.
Yep. Now, if only this could translate to the offense. But anyway, to talk a little more about the offense before we move on, it was a safe game by Osweiler. I mean, I think they made some stupid run choices. Like running into Khalil Mack, real smart move. But
right?
Lamar Miller looked fresh. He looked a lot better. But I will say they cannot. When it comes to the Patriots, if they want any hope of winning, they need to hope Lamar Miller gets some holes, which I don't think he will get many. And Clowney has to play very good. I mean, he needs to bring the same game he did to the Raiders to this game and more. Because I feel like the Patriots know they have this game in the bag. Here's how confident they were going to play the Texans. When asked about what if it would have been the Dolphins, and all Bill Belichick could say is like we were prepping for the Texans as soon as the game was over, and asked what if Miami won. He just said, well, he knew they sucked. He knew they sucked. They are not optimal without Ryan Tannehill. Without Tannehill, they have no shot at a Super Bowl run.
Right.
Anyway, I think we can move on now. Let's talk about the last thing, because other games to mention. I mean, there was the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers game. The only thing to say is that offense is so good, and Martavis Bryant isn't there. That's why next year I'm gonna say the Steelers have a legit shot at a Super Bowl. When we make our Final Four predictions in the preseason, I'm going to tell you the Steelers are going to be there at the number 2 or 1 seed, because when Martavis Bryant comes back and they all stay healthy, they can beat anybody. They will be this year's Cowboys in terms of offense because they can put up a lot of points. Le'Veon Bell is really good. And Antonio Brown, you give him space, he's really good. And Martavis Bryant is meant to be that element of speed. So if Antonio Brown gets shut down, you have this guy to rely on.
Right.
So unless you're going up against Denver's really good defense or KC, one of them's going to beat you. And, I mean, the only other thing I will mention is Mike Tomlin. Come back to me, boy. What's wrong with you? Why when you were already destroying them 24-6, why did you think it was a good idea to keep Big Ben and the rest of the group in there? You hurt his calf, and he won't play at 100% against the Chiefs. And as we know, Justin Houston is hungry, and he wants a burger, a Roethlisberger. He's going to eliminate Big Ben from the game. You needed him at 100%, and then you let the dirty defense of Miami hurt your star quarterback.
Right.
Because now
I mean,
he's gonna limp into Arrowhead, which is not the best place you want to be. And then if you win somehow, you got to go to New England.
see, I don't agree with one thing is, people criticizing leaving Big Ben in there. It's a playoff game and it's only 24-6. No matter what, it might seem insurmountable, but weirder things have happened in the playoffs, So if it was 40-6, I could see them taking him out. But since it was 24-6, all it takes is a pick six and it's 24-13 or a fumble.
This is where I think you give the ball to Bell. Because remember, on I think their second touchdown drive, they gave the ball to Le'Veon Bell for 10 straight plays, and they still made it. And that's because they got a holding call at the 2. It's like, oh, we're at the 12. We're not going to make it now. Yeah, we still did. Just keep giving the ball to Le'Veon Bell. He'll take it in for you. He is literally a bell cow. And he could, you could make them. They made the most predictable drive ever, and they still beat the Dolphins for 6. That's why I'm disappointed. Like, why you have Le'Veon Bell, you have one of the best run games in the AFC now, and you didn't rely on it at the end of the game. That's what you do when you're at the end, Bill. When you are ahead, what you do is you want to run the ball, milk that clock, get another first down, tire that defense to the point where they just want to go home. They don't even care about the Super Bowl. Forget the Super Bowl, I just want to go home. That's the attitude you want to set on them when you're already ahead. And they didn't do that because they tried to let Big Ben make throws. I think they're going to start him anyway, but it's just you do not want a limping quarterback to go to KC. Where Justin Houston's going to hurt you, D Ford is going to go after you. You don't want to go. You don't want to do that.
And the best thing about Ben is his escapability in the pocket, and that is severely compromised.
Exactly. Now let's go to the main attraction, New York, Green Bay. It was close for half a game, and then Green Bay just burned them. It was bad. I think the loss of JPP really hurt them here. They had no pass rush without him this game. Now people were saying, "Oh, JPP's going to be." I said one of these players is going to be a bust. I can't tell you who I think it is, but I can tell you who I was confident in that was kind of necessary, and that was JPP. He was good, and now that he's gone, they have no pass rush. So I guess my thing was technically wrong, but I still got the other half that he would be signed big is going to happen. I think it's going to happen. Even though he got hurt, because he can come back, and all of a sudden their defense will play really good.
Right.
So, but that's not the reason we're going to talk about this game. Aaron Rodgers, you're going to go to Dallas. Guess what? After remember that Thanksgiving game where there were Cowboys fans for days? That was Jerry Jones' dream come true right there. I expect to see that in full force, if not more so, this Sunday, because I'm glad that game is last. You are saving the best for last. And that's not to say the game before that is a slouch either. Steelers-Chiefs could be fun, because we can't give it all to KC entirely. If things go right for the Steelers, all of a sudden that could be a really good game.Texans-Patriots, I don't see being good. Seattle-Atlanta, that is the grudge match of the year, if you ask me.
Right.
Because, like we mentioned earlier, Julio Jones getting wronged by Richard Sherman, and there was no cost to that. Nothing wrong for that. The Seahawks got a win that I don't think they entirely deserved. So, yeah. You're damn right. Atlanta's playing with a chip on their shoulder, and yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is back," and he's upset because he played bad in the beginning of the year. No, you played like shit, and the Cowboys will remind you of that. But let's focus on the Giants before we get to the picks, because this week's games, Bill, excite me. I legit want to watch all 4 of these games.
Right.
Like, I will not leave the house. I will sit here and watch these games. Like, I'm not leaving. These are good. These were great games, but New York. Okay, let's talk about it. The New York tabloids are having a ball with this, and I'm okay with that. let's talk about it, Bill. We didn't get to mention it in the podcast last week. I really wish we did, because that's why I would have added that to our picks of why New York would have lost. Because New York, okay, they cursed themselves so hard. But let's talk about it. Okay, so at the beginning of the week last week, after the playoffs were over, the Giants had a couple days off because you made the playoffs, great. I'll see you Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget what day. And then we'll talk Green Bay. So, what do Odell Beckham and the crew do? They go to Miami. What do they do in Miami? Get on a boat. And they invite Justin Bieber and take a picture. It's like, hey guys, we're enjoying our vacation here. What's up? Because we dem boys. No, you're not dem boys. That's the Cowboys slogan. You're just the big blue. But that's beside the point. So yeah, Bill, what happened to other teams that partied before games have happened? What happened to them?
Typically, they don't come out and play well, and they lose.
What happened in that game, though? What happened on Sunday? Tell me the score.
They got absolutely demolished by Green Bay, 38-13.
Yep, and just like with
irritated me.
And just like with the Raiders receivers and the Lions receivers, Odell Beckham and the crew did not help Eli Manning. There were at least two big key drops where if those were caught, all of a sudden you would have had, let's say 27-38. Now, that might not make much of a difference, but at the very least, the offense and defense would be very motivated to keep playing because the game, it's not over yet. In actuality, if those were in the first half, you would have had, I want to say it would have been 20-10 instead, and the Packers would be playing from behind if you made those two touchdowns.
Exactly, they would have been in more of a panic mode. The defense would have had more momentum. It's a whole different game when your receivers don't catch the football. And it's the age-old story. If it hits you in the hands, you gotta catch it.
And they didn't catch it. Odell Beckham was like, oh, I made the one-handed catch. I'm so great. Nope. So that picture, it was all them with Justin Bieber. So here's how bad they cursed themselves. So not only did they get the Bieber curse, you were in Miami partying when you should be practicing or at least studying film. If you have a bye week, it's another thing if you had a bye week. Yes, it's your bye week. Go ahead, relax. You deserve it. But this is not a bye week. This is game week. You have another game in a few days. Practice. Nope. So not only that, and they're all wearing Timbs. So you're partying when you should be practicing. You have Justin Bieber with you, and you're wearing Timbs. You're cursing yourself so much. If you won, that would actually say, God, you just destroyed those curses. That's like the best example of that is like you walk under a ladder while a black cat is passing you by, and then you break a mirror right in front of you. Because you put so much bad luck on you. You were just asking Aaron Rodgers to please blow you up with nearly 40 points.
It's almost like the Chicago Cubs curse just invaded that entire party right there.
I say good. And this is how, and everyone's like, oh, Odell Beckham is so mature. And here's the thing. After the game, he's like, it was we. Normally I'd say if you use we speak, you're saying we all could have played better because it's a team group and we all didn't do our job. No. You didn't do your job. You don't own up to your own flaws. He was blaming the whole team, not just himself. He would not point out that he made his own mistakes in terms of dropping catches he should have caught because he's like, oh, I'm Odell Beckham. I can catch anything. You had easily catchable balls, especially of your caliber, and you couldn't do it. And what do? You punched a wall in the enemy stadium. Congrats. Now you owe Green Bay Pack. Not only did you owe them a win, you also owe the Lambeau Field some money. Because they got to pay for that wall. Good news, Donald Trump's coming to be president in a few days, so you could just ask him to make the Mexicans pay for it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, damn.
Yeah,
But yeah.
So, good luck, Odell Beckham. You need to fucking grow up. You can be all this talent you have, but if you're going to be immature about it, you're nothing like, say, Megatron or Jerry Rice. They were much more better, not only better players, but also better people.
When you're focused on the goal at hand rather than partying, you will win games. And when is it going to get through sports stars' heads to not hang out with Justin Bieber?
I
He's
know.
like
It's like the thing. Okay,
he's
we're
the
gonna
giant.
break the curse. We're gonna break the curse. He's a train wreck of a
If you
person, and he's gonna bring a train wreck to your game.
if you want to lose the game that you're playing, even have him appear at your game, you bar him from the stadium. You don't allow him to wear anything of your colors. You stay far away.
It's bad. It is bad. But good riddance. I don't want to deal with you, Giants. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you're so great. Nope, fuck you. You're dumb. Get out of here.
Could you imagine
Now,
100 years from now, people in the NFL are saying the curse of the Beebs?
oh, sooner or later he'll go. Then anyway, Bill, I think that'll do it for Talk About Wild Card Weekend. We're on to one of the best weeks of football. Are you ready for the picks?
Indeed, here we go. Saturday, the 14th, the Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons.
This is the grudge match, and I think Atlanta wants their revenge. Seattle is a completely different team on the road. I have Atlanta beating them 40-20. It's going to be lopsided, and the refs will not save Seattle.
And I think it's going to be pretty bad as well. The Seahawks played a team that couldn't catch the football. This team can catch the football, and they have a damn good running game as well. They got the whole package on offense. Their defense is struggling, but the Seahawks offense isn't great. So I've got the Falcons in a probably 35-14 game. All right, so next up, the Houston Texans at the New England Patriots.
Oh, this is the most predictable one of them all. I'm going to go with the Patriots. So long, Houston. At least you won a playoff game. That's all I can tell you to make yourself feel better. But hey, next year, J.J. Watt will return, and this defense has the makings of historic level goodness. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, here comes the turnovers from Brock Osweiler, and I think the Patriots are going to confuse him. They're going to do a lot of bad stuff to the Texans. I got the Patriots winning. Next up, the Sunday games, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The Steelers, oh man, I feel like they're just one leap away from making another run. It's not this year. I have the Chiefs. Their defense is good, and I think Alex Smith will do just enough on offense to win this game.
This is going to be the game of the weekend. I think this could be a overtime game, but I've got the Chiefs in overtime beating the Steelers. I just have more faith in the Chiefs defense than I do in the Steelers defense, and that's why I'm picking them. And next up, the final game of the weekend, the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, a little bit of a story time. I put on the relax video that's on YouTube for Aaron Rodgers that you won't make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. Every Packers fan is telling me to relax or like, haha, you're wrong. Well, guess what? Hey, Packers fans, you all can RELAX, relax at your homes in Wisconsin because you are not going to be in Houston next month because Dallas is going to drop 50 points on you. If you thought the first game was bad, now it's going to be worse. The crowd is going to rival Seattle in noise and Kansas City in noise. Aaron Rodgers is going to get sacked 5 times by a rejuvenated defensive line because everyone's healthy now. Crawford's healthy. Lawrence is healthy. Morris Claiborne is coming back, and you don't have Jordy Nelson to start. The Packers are going to get taken out 20-50, and you all can go fuck off enjoy your little run while you had it, because now you're playing a real good team, and they're gonna make you look like the biggest fucking joke since Cleveland. Goodbye.
And
Fuck off.
and I've got the Cowboys as well. Ezekiel Elliott's on a run all over that defense. The Packers defense is pretty bad, and Ezekiel is gonna go off in this game. I think he's gonna have a 200-yard rushing game, and they still have to cover Dez with that secondary. Good
They have
luck.
to cover Williams, they have to cover Witten, they have to cover Elliott. So, Bill,
I mean,
I just,
luck.
I really want the Cowboys to eliminate. I don't mean just beat them. I mean eliminate the Packers off the face of the earth. Because the Packers, we went on a hot streak because we beat bad teams like Chicago, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Detroit. We're so good, guys. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm gonna be just brutally honest. I don't want to see the Packers in the NFC title game at all, because if it's the Falcons against the Packers in the NFC title game, the Falcons are going to put up 50 on them easily.
It's one or the other, Bill, and I think Dallas wants to make a statement. Because, you had to buy. It's like, you're going to get taken out now. No. This is a bad defense, and this is an offense that has been thriving off of bad defenses as well. Now, they're going to meet a team that can put points faster than they could, and the Packers often go on slow starts. So, in that slow start, I think Dallas will already have 21 points by midway through the second quarter.
Oh, damn. But yeah, I got the Cowboys.
I don't want Dallas to get their foot off the gas at all. Just feed Zeke, make him get 3 touchdowns. I want to see complete destruction. So yeah. Anyway, I think that'll do it. I am very pumped for that last game. In case you can't tell, I need to see the Packers, because when that's done, when they destroy the Packers, I'm gonna go back to that video and respond to those people who are telling me to relax. Like, no, you all can relax because you're not going to the playoff. You're not going farther in the playoffs, and you're not going to the Super Bowl because you had no right. The Falcons are better than you, and the Cowboys are better than you. And even if you somehow did, because I think the refs would side with Dallas here. And even if you did, New England would make you look like a big joke, because Tom Brady is the real GOAT, not Aaron Rodgers. He only has 1 trophy to his name. Brady has 4, and he's going to make it 5 this year. So yeah, I think that'll do it, Bill. Anything else do you have to say?
Nothing much.
Alright, we will see you guys for the title game week. That should be fun.